and welcome to another episode of Unboxing Women, where we explore the gender gap in the music and entertainment industry. If you're active in the music business, an independent artist, a musician, or are just curious about how it all works, then this pod is for you. My name is Micah Rose, and I'm with my friend Dana Rex, and we are both independent recording artists based in Europe. After having been called a bitch for knowing what we want, we were fed up and decided to reveal what really goes on behind the scenes.
Yes.
You can listen to us on your favourite podcast platform and on our YouTube channel, where you will see our lovely faces. And today we are talking about Mariah Carey's grunge rock album.
Yes, we are. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Mariah Carey did a grunge rock album that nobody knew about until she mentioned it in 2022.
I think it was 2020.
Ah, yes.
But then in 2022 it got another big kind of thing. I don't know why.
Didn't she say she was going to re-release it in 2022?
Yes, exactly. So she did, I think it was in her memoirs that it was released that she had done this album. So
yes.
The tea was spilt.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2022 she said she'd found the original tracks with her voice on them.
Yeah.
And that she would want to re-release them. So nothing has happened yet. It's 2024, guys. So this is also already a little bit old news, but it's still not talked about a lot.
It's still not talked about. And as we said in our how to produce, it does take a lot of time to do anything in the music industry. So I get it, you know, it might drop tomorrow.
Oh,
Who knows?
Yeah, no,
it might drop in a year.
If she started it in 2022, then yes, it's going to take a while.
Yeah, it's not.
So,
it's going to be.
And then all the marketing around it. And with Mariah Carey being Mariah Carey, I mean, come on, it's going to be a huge marketing system.
More than 10 weeks, yes, people.
And if they actually decide to support this one, because that actually is what happened.
Yes. Right. Let's start at the beginning. So in 95, she wrote and recorded a grunge rock album with her friend, I have to look at my notes, Clarissa Dane, who was her roommate, you say?
Yes, her roommate at the time.
Yes.
I don't know if Clarissa Dane was actually involved in the process of the writing.
I don't know, but Clarissa Dane was the lead singer of this rock band called Chick.
Yeah.
And so their roommates, Mariah decides to write for this band. I don't know. She wants to do something different. Yeah. She's in the middle of preparing her, I think, fifth fifth album. Daydream. Which is again like that la la la, you know, very happy, poppy and pretty and clean Mariah Carey that we all know and love. But she just wanted to do something raw, I guess, and not so clean, and which is totally understandable.
Yeah.
So she records this album, and she goes to her label with it, and they say, no, we can't do that because then you're kind of, we can't do that because then your image will suffer for being Mariah Carey. So what they do is they decide to release it anyway. But so it's under Sony. She's under Columbia, which is Sony.
Yeah.
And the Chick album was released under BMG, which was also Sony at the time.
Yeah.
And they squashed it.
Yes, but they released it under Sony, but she wasn't allowed to put her name to it. And her friend, who also was writing on this, was also not allowed to put his name on it, I think. So
aliases.
They used aliases, and she wasn't allowed to sing lead vocals on it, so she's basically layered under the lead vocals. And
all the backings, she's all the backings.
And she does the backings, but I think that the way she phrased it in one of the in her Twitter post, it sounds like she's also like a whisper layer underneath the lead
there's
vocals.
A lot. Yeah. There's a lot of layering going on. I think she's all the background layers.
Yeah, probably.
And that they just redid the lead. Clarissa redid the lead because they didn't want Mariah to be the lead. They released it, then squashed it by not marketing it because obviously they didn't really want this out there. But if you tell her, we don't want you to release it and we're not releasing it, she might have maybe gone to somebody else, or it might have done whatever.
I don't know if she would have been allowed because they locked into such huge contracts.
Maybe, but this is also a way to keep control over something. So you release it, but then they didn't do any marketing, so nobody knew about it. So it wasn't a success. They didn't market it to the radios. So radios didn't play it because they probably didn't even know it existed because they weren't sent it.
Yeah.
So that's the way to squash something, basically. You release it so you keep control over the rights and over what goes on, and then you're saying, yeah, we'll do it. And then they actually just don't market it.
Exactly.
That's the way of the label.
Yeah, so a lot of people were like, we saw some online stuff on YouTube.
Yes.
And it's misleading because they're like, oh yeah, it kind of, it didn't get seen, it wasn't played, it wasn't successful. And you're like, yeah, because it wasn't marketed. Yeah. Like it wasn't on the radio. Yeah, because it wasn't pushed to the radios.
Yeah.
Like it's
not because it was bad or something like that.
Because at the time that was the music. It was you said it was like what was it, a mix between?
Well, I heard there are 2 songs out there on YouTube.
Because most of it has been pulled.
Yeah,
another
also.
Thing. Yeah.
Because the thing is, when Mariah Carey mentioned it first in 2020, it all of a sudden everybody was streaming it.
Yeah.
And then it disappeared because you have a setting on Spotify where you can see hidden tracks, so tracks that have existed on Spotify but have been pulled, and if you've added them to your playlist, you can still see them but grayed out and you can't play them. You can find it on Spotify grayed out.
Yeah.
So they pulled it, and now she's going to re-release it, hopefully with her original lead vocals. That she hopefully finds back somehow. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I heard so that there were 2 singles, and those are still, they have music videos on YouTube. And to me it sounded like Hole mixed with Blur. Which is very relevant because the Britpop movement was from 93 to 97, and this came out in 95, like smack in the middle. So it makes sense that it would kind of sound that way and have some influences from that. But yeah, it did remind me of Hole very much. And we found some people talking about this on YouTube. This guy called Honest, and he's got like 600,000 followers.
Nearly, yeah.
Yeah. And oh my God, I'm so sorry. I couldn't finish the video because
it was awful.
It was awful. This is the problem with people who think they know about music because they listen to music. It's not because you're a music fan and you like a lot of music and, that you're an expert in music jargon and in knowing how music comes to be.
Yeah.
So he was saying that, the lead vocal is layered. No, the backing vocal is layered. The lead vocal is just the one.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And it's not only that, he was like, oh, this album is, so he was rating it.
Yes.
Which it makes my skin crawl.
This was in 2023. He did this video.
Yes, it's a very recent video. He's rating it. So this guy wasn't even born when the actual album came out. So he knows nothing of the time and knows nothing of what was going on in music back then and why this might have been like, raw and obviously not auto-tuned and all of this. And he's like, okay, I'm going to rate this album from okay to bad.
Yeah.
It's like saying a color is not pretty. Well, that's debatable. Somebody else is going to love that color.
It's an opinion. Yeah.
It's an opinion. So don't rate music that way. It's just...
Well, I think it's the way he stated it, like it was a fact. And
yes.
It's like, no, you need to put it into context. Obviously, in the time, at the time, that was the style of music that was popular. So at the time, the music would probably have been popular.
It might have done well. Yeah. Now, obviously, it's an old genre. It's not really relevant anymore.
Yeah, and you don't, like, unless you listen to it back then, it's not like you have nostalgic...
Exactly.
Feelings towards it, so it's
and he's like oh, you see how passionate this makes me. He's like, there's a lot of angst. Well, yeah, because young people write that way. Have you listened to Olivia Rodriguez lately?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of angst, but it's a different genre because it's a genre of now, and so that one you accept. But the one that we made in, like, I say we because I was alive at the time, and so I was listening to all of this stuff. So I feel involved in this kind of music because I did listen to it, and there was a reason for it. I was a teenager, and I felt the same rage.
Yeah.
So yeah. I understand
because
it.
Because also that, like, obviously, yes, internet was a thing in 95, but not really.
Really.
Not really.
No, it wasn't
So,
really.
like, it really started in the 2000s, maybe, I know, when
If you had a computer and internet in 95, you were very, very fancy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, it wasn't like you could express yourself to others across countries that much, right? So music was really what was expressing how people were feeling, how a generation was feeling, and so to dismiss that easily, like going like, oh, I'm rating this from okay to bad
in 2023.
Like, yes, it's just like, yes, of course you are, because you have no idea what's going on.
Because Jon Snow, you know nothing. You know? It's really that was so frustrating to hear, and it just goes to show this. We come across this all the time, and it's very hard not to comment and not to be negative on these people. So I don't comment because it's, you know, it doesn't, that won't be constructive either. But it really does make my skin crawl to hear this kind of thing. People who have kind of become popular in social media or on YouTube, but you can hear that they have no idea, and people are listening to them.
Yeah, well, I mean, they should listen to us.
So, yes, you know. They should listen to us. Listen to us.
Yeah. But no, I mean, obviously everybody's going to get something wrong at some point, but that was, I mean, you can just tell the depth of the
misunderstanding.
Yes, the misunderstanding.
Yeah.
But you know, all of that aside, this grunge rock album, obviously, so Mariah did this while she was doing Daydream, and she did this like after a day in the studio. She would go and blow off steam, and she actually said she was screaming literally about what she was experiencing emotionally at the time. So obviously the part in quotation marks is the screaming literally, and it's just, that just goes to show what we just said, that it was a generational thing. And also obviously she was under a lot of pressure. She was like not allowed to do her own thing, which this showcases again. Like, she's not allowed to do her own thing because she's not allowed to put her name on it, which it's like Rihanna being forced to do stuff, or Avril Lavigne. You know, Avril Lavigne also was forced to do a lot of things that, you know, she was in her 30s and she was making music like a 17-year-old because, like, that's what the album, like the company was like, well,
that was the image they wanted.
That was the image.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you've got maturing people here. Let them mature, let them go through stuff. That's where the emotional songs come from.
Exactly. Let them also express what's really going on at the time, instead of projecting and doing the same thing as you've been doing for X years.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really interesting because Daydream was her 5th album. She was already popular. She already had some hits out there. And obviously, in hindsight, Daydream was also very successful. So there was a lot of pressure to have successful singles. Fantasy or something? No, Fantasy's from before. But yeah, Daydream itself, the song itself. And there's a couple other songs on that album that did really well. So, I mean, kudos to her. But yeah, I mean, you're on your 5th album. You're hoping that it's as successful as the things you've already done. You're not sure. There's always doubt in your mind. You have to sing this pretty thing, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then you're coming home and you're like, everything is so frustrating. You're like, oh, I just want to sing like this out of tune. I don't know, like, oh, just sing. So just blurt something out. Yeah. And it makes me feel good. And I like this album. And I think, you know, it needs to be out there. And then, oh no, but we can't have your vocals on it. That must have also been very frustrating.
That must have been so
Maybe she wrote a song about that after all of that as well, somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, she's definitely got songs, like really emotional, different songs that she hasn't released.
Yeah.
Or sold to other people, or, you know, still has writer's credits on or something under an alias. Yeah. Definitely. Because it's just, if you're pressed into that one image, obviously in the beginning it's like, okay, this is how I started and stuff, but people, it's like making movies nowadays. It's all the same shit.
Yeah.
Because, and no front to Mariah, she's great, right? But it's all the same stuff because the people marketing these things, they're like, we know what works.
Yeah.
We want more of what works.
Yeah.
And so nothing new ever gets made. Nothing new ever gets pushed, that is, because new things get made, but they're like, oh no, that's scary. We don't know what the response will be. We can't do this because we have no idea of what's actually going to happen with it and if people will like it. Well, actually, people want new stuff.
Yeah, they do. And it's always the new stuff that by chance gets viral, is like, oh my god, we really love this because it's totally new and it hasn't been done before. And that's only when, oh, but now this works, so now you can do this. And then everybody does that.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah, exactly.
It's also, actually, I read an article on Adele just now, and when her 30 was released, the first single was Easy on Me. And this article was written just when Easy on Me had been released, but 30 hadn't been dropped yet. And so 30 is her last album, for anybody who doesn't know. And so basically, the article was saying, oh yeah, it's a great song and it's like emotional and stuff, but I feel like a little bit disappointed that she didn't like branch out into new music. I feel like she could have done so much more with like going through her divorce and stuff. I was hoping for different music and like new things, and I hope that the rest of 30 will bring more of that, which it did. It literally did. They sent out the one that they knew would do well.
Yes, of course they did.
But it's like, so you're fucked if you do, you're fucked if you don't.
Yes.
And it's like,
you're gonna get critiqued if you do.
Yeah.
And also if you don't. Absolutely.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's very frustrating.
It's very frustrating. So it's, I don't know, it's
Well, I want to hear Mariah Carey's grunge rock album, and I hope it's really good.
Yeah. And she said she's working on it with new artists, so I don't know if she's
really?
actually still... Yeah.
Oh, so it's going to be like a remake as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a remake, I think. Maybe with her original files, but I don't know. Maybe she'll do both.
Maybe she'll re-record it.
I mean, like Taylor Swift re-recorded.
Yeah.
Previously released stuff, so yeah, maybe that's...
Maybe she'll do a Taylor Swift,
Yeah, maybe she'll like release the original and then like do like, oh, I'm going to do a remake.
Mariah's version. No, seriously, it's gonna be a lot of fun to find that out together with everyone. So all right, well, that's all for today. Thank you for tuning into Unboxing Women. If you've ever had an experience that you want to share with us, send us a DM or tag us in your post with the hashtag suchabitch, or send us an email on suchabitch@unboxingwomen.com. Don't forget to drop us a like on Instagram or wherever you are listening to us now. My name is Dana Rex, and I've been chatting with Micah Rose. And tune in to another episode of Unboxing Women next week. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.